So welcome everyone to our webinar on integrating TARS chatbots with hundreds of apps using Zapier. This is a topic that has been highly requested from us, from a lot of the people who already use the TARS platform, because as you'll find out in the next couple of slides, lead capture, which is what we do through our chatbots at TARS, are only part of the picture. Once you capture a lead, you need to manage that lead well, to ensure that it gets followed up on and eventually convert. So the first thing that we like to do in these webinars is we like to do a little bit of an intro for the people who have not attended previous webinars. And the reason we like to do that is because we don't want to seem like, well, I don't want to seem like a disembodied head on your screen telling you what to do. I feel like we owe it to you to tell you what our experience is, so that you know that the information you're hearing in this webinar actually comes from somewhere. It's come from our experience building chatbots over the last couple of years. So at TARS, we have been in the marketing space since around 2015. That's when the company was started. And since then, we've been helping marketers boost their conversion rates using conversational tech. So exactly as that sounds, I presume a lot of you guys are familiar with how chatbots are used, but essentially people come to us to use our builder and to get our help creating chatbots that replace their regular lead capture forms and their regular landing pages, so that they can capture more leads without increasing the amount of time, effort, and money they spend on their marketing campaigns. Within that broader context, I've been around for around 4 years with TARS. I've created over 100 chatbots. I'm a conversational designer and a marketer at TARS. So I create chatbots and I also create awesome content like this webinar, or I like to think that it's awesome, like this webinar, to help other marketers find out more about chatbots and learn how they can build them. In this case, integrate them with other apps. Now, with those intros out of the way, I think we're ready to start with the actual important stuff. So like I briefly mentioned earlier, chatbots are the hype around chatbots is primarily, as you probably know, around lead generation. So chatbots started to get popular in 2016, especially when Facebook Messenger launched its chatbot platform, and people were trying to figure out what the killer use case for chatbots were going to be. They were touted as being like the next platform after apps and websites. And quickly, what a lot of companies, including us, thankfully, realized was that the killer use case for chatbots was actually lead generation and qualification, which I don't have in this slide right now, but you can throw that in there as well. And essentially, the way it works is you replace the regular forms that you have on your traditional landing pages and websites with a chat interface that collects the exact same information. And what we found in our experience building chatbots is that prospects are more likely to share their details with you when they are interacting with a chatbot versus a form, just because the interaction of having a conversation with someone, or rather something, because chatbots are completely automated, feels a lot more engaging and feels a lot more personalized than a regular form, and that induces people to complete the lead generation flow at higher rates. But of course, lead capture, as you'll know if you've conducted any marketing campaigns, which I presume all of you guys have done, lead capture is only part of the marketing puzzle. So chatbots handle the lead capture aspect of it. They will help you capture more leads for the same amount of time, effort, and money that you spend on your marketing campaigns. But once you've captured that lead, you still have a long way to go before you can convert that lead into a paying customer. And to do that, you honestly, you can't use a chatbot because it's not a front end interaction that you are creating. It all comes down to good data management. Once you capture a lead, you need to organize those leads. The reason I mentioned qualification earlier is because you obviously need to get those leads qualified, categorize them to know which ones are the hot leads, which ones are the hot leads that you really want to follow up with, which ones are maybe not so good and you don't want to spend as much effort following up with, and then actually start automating the processes of following up with people. So sending a follow-up email automatically. I mean, we found this out the hard way at TARS, because when we started out, we weren't particularly good at this whole automation thing. So we used to get a bunch of leads, and a lot of them who were theoretically really good leads wouldn't get followed up with for a couple of months. And invariably, they wouldn't respond because they've gone completely cold. I mean, how many times do you land on a page, sign up for something, forget about it for 2 months, and then when they come back to you, remember what that product was? I imagine that has never happened before. So that's why automation is important. It helps you improve the efficiency of your marketing campaigns. If you can take that lead that gets captured by your chatbot and automatically put it into your CRM, automatically trigger a follow-up email, maybe automate some qualification. And if you can generally just manage your data really well once it gets captured, your marketing campaigns are going to be more efficient. It's going to save you time, and you can reinvest that time maybe into your marketing campaigns. And perhaps more importantly, you will drive more business because you're following up on those hot leads more promptly. You're not wasting time with those cold leads, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't need to tell you guys this, because all of you guys over here are probably digital marketers and you'll probably already know this. So what we are trying to do on today's webinar is we are trying to show you how you can implement some of those data management best practices that I was talking about into your TARS chatbot. And more specifically, what we are trying to do is we are going to tell you how to take the data that your chatbots capture. So take your lead capture data, all your qualification info, all of your basic information, and send it automatically to the apps which you use to manage your data using a service called Zapier. So over here on this slide, for example, we have on the left side of the screen the regular TARS chatbot that we have on our website. It's actually an appointment booking chatbot. You should check out our previous webinar recording to figure out how you can build one of these. And the data from this chatbot, for demo purposes, though we do use Zapier, is being sent over to a Google Sheet on the right. So immediately after the lead has a conversation with the chatbot and their information is captured, that information is automatically stored in a Google Sheet that I have set up. And that's pretty much what we are going to do on today's webinar. We're going to show you how to make this data transfer. Now, once you have transferred that lead information over from the chatbot into your data management software, so into Google Sheets, into Salesforce, into whatever CRM you are using, then you can let the features of that software kick in. So for example, if you have an automatic email follow-up set up within that software, the lead gets captured in your chatbot, it automatically gets sent through Zapier to your data management software, and that software automatically sends out an email to any new leads that come in. So with that simple integration of Zapier in between, what you've essentially done is you have automated the entire process of lead capture to follow-up, and that helps you drive more business. And with that, we're actually ready to start building. If this is your first time on one of these webinars, we like to do a live build in our webinars where you can actually follow along with the build to create your own chatbot. And in this case, create your own Zapier integration with your chatbot to automate that data transfer process and speed up your data management. So I'm going to close out of the slide deck over here and pop over to the TARS website. Now, the first step, obviously, with any of these webinars is to sign up for the TARS Builder. We are working in the TARS environment. You can probably do this with a lot of other chatbot creation softwares, but in this webinar, unsurprisingly, since we are a company that builds chatbots, we use our own builder. I'm actually going to log out of this. I'm going to log out of this account just to show you guys what the entire process looks like from sign up to creation, because you do see some screens in between, and I don't want you guys to get confused if you see something here and then you go off and try to sign up. So the first thing you're going to do is come to the sign up page, give us your basic details. So I'm going to say Patel. Give it an email ID. So over here, I'm going to give it one of my webinar email IDs. @hellotars.com and give it a phone number. So hit the create account button, and it will drop you directly into the chatbot templates section of the builder. Now, by default, we drop you over here, and this is a really cool feature. Essentially, what it does is it gives you access to a couple of hundred chatbot templates that we have created over the last couple of months that you can use as a base for your chatbot creation. In the top right over here, you can see that we have organized our templates by industry and by use case. And you can select one of these industries or use cases to explore what chatbots we have within that industry or use case. You can select the chatbot and hit the use template button to actually end up using it. But in this webinar, we're not going to do that. We're going to actually create a chatbot from scratch. So to do that, what you want to do is click the TARS button at the top of the page. Once you do that, it is going to drop you into the My Chatbot section of the builder. So now if you have a particularly keen eye, you might have noticed that on the left side of the screen, it's gone from being chatbot. It's gone from having chatbot templates selected to My Chatbot selected. Now over here, you get an overview of every single chatbot that you've ever created on the TARS builder. Right now, we just set up this account, so there are no chatbots right now. We're gonna hit the blue Create a Chatbot button and give this chatbot a cool name. We can call it something like Arnav's Lead Gen Chatbot. Hit create from scratch, and that's going to initialize the creation workspace, which is where you actually define what the chatbot says. This is where you're going to define the brain of the chatbot, essentially. What messages it sends, what user input it accepts. Now for this webinar, since the focus is on Zapier and how we can transfer the data, I'm going to make a super simple chatbot. It's going to be a personal chatbot that just captures leads for a fictional consultation business that I have on chatbot creation, maybe. So I'm going to create a couple of these gambits over here. If you are new to the TARS builder, a gambit, as you can see over here, we have green add a gambit button. A gambit is one of these elements over here that I have on the screen. And what each of these gambits represent is a single back and forth between the chatbot and the user. So over here, I've clicked on this first gambit that I've created. And as you can see in the top, we can define the bot messages, and in the bottom, we can define the user input. Now, the user input, we can accept a whole bunch of different types of user input. We'll probably do an entire webinar where we explore each one of these inputs. But as you can see, we have a bunch of them. You can accept images and files. You can accept locations. If you watched our previous webinar, you can accept calendar and time. You can use that to do some cool stuff like integrate with Google Calendar. But the most popular ones tend to be just the regular text input, which we have selected by default, where people can just type out a piece of text and you can sort of define certain types of text that you want to accept. So if we put email on, it will look for an email. And if someone sends a phone number, for example, in that text field, the chatbot will say, hey, can you actually share an email with me? Because that's what I'm looking for. And of course, buttons or cards, where people have quick reply buttons they can respond to. Now in this chatbot, what I am going to do is I'm going to accept a couple of basic details, something as simple as maybe name, email, and query, or tell me about your business, since this is a consultation lead gen chatbot that I'm creating. And then we're going to send that data over to maybe Google Sheets. Since I have Google Sheets open through Zapier. Now, the first thing that we always like to do when we're creating a chatbot is create the intro. The intro is the first thing that a prospect sees when they land on your chatbot, especially when it's a conversational landing page. So it has to be really good because it has to capture their attention. So over here, I'm going to give my chatbot a little bit of a persona. I'm going to say something like, hi, my name is TARS. I am Arnav's personal chatbot assistant, maybe. How can I help you today? Now over here, we can give the prospects a whole bunch of options. We can, since this is my personal assistant, they can ask us to see my previous work, see Arnav's previous work, check out Arnav's website, check out Arnav's website. But the thing that we are really interested in this chatbot is to request a consultation. So a lead capture. So we can say something like request a consultation as the first option. We can remove these other two options because it's not really important for what we're doing. But if you're building your own chatbot, when you inevitably do, you can add those options in, and I'll show you how you can connect the gambits to other gambits to create a full conversation. So we're going to keep it at just one option, request a consultation. That's going to draw people into the lead generation flow. And with that, we have this first gambit set up. We have an intro. It tells them who the bot is. It tells them how it can, the bot tells the prospect how it can help them. So it can help them request a consultation with me. We can hit save. And then what we do is, as you can see, I've created a couple of other gambits here. What we want to do is connect these gambits up. So we've connected this first gambit to the second gambit that I have over here by connecting these two sockets together. And essentially what happens is the prospect lands in this chatbot. They see this first set of messages. They type out, the chatbot sends those messages. The prospect presumably clicks on this request a consultation button, and then they're taken to the next gambit. Over here, we want to define the chatbot messages again so we can jump directly into the lead generation flow. Always acknowledge user input. So they pressed a button. We can say, great, I need a few details to get you set up. What first, an easy one. What is your name? We can leave text input on, select name verification, just so that we know that they're sending us a name, not an email. We're going to rename the gambit up here so that it's easier for us to recognize later on. It's very important that you give your gambits descriptive names that lets you know what is being captured in each gambit. So over here, we're capturing their name. So we're going to name this gambit name. After we've captured their name, we want to send them to another gambit where we capture their email. So I've connected it to the third gambit. We can say something like email. First, we're going to acknowledge their input again. So we can say something like, nice to meet you. Pull their name. This is the data referencing feature of the builder. So we're saying, nice to meet you, and then insert the user response, URSP, from the name gambit. And put those in double curly braces, and the chatbot will automatically pull whatever input they gave you in the name gambit and plug it in over here. So it'll say, nice to meet you, Arnav, if I were to interact with the chatbot. Now we can ask for their email. Or before we ask for their email, what we can actually do, this is the best practice that we recommend, especially for shorter flows, is ask for the contact details at the end, ask for the stuff that's important to the prospect first. So over here, we can ask them what they need consultation about. So we can call this gambit query, and we can say something like, what do you want to talk to Arnav about? E.g., tell us about your business. Again, we're just going to leave it as plain text input. We want them to input whatever they want to. And now, once we have their name and query, we're going to capture their email and close out the conversation. So we create another gambit, hook this up over here, rename the gambit email, acknowledge their input. So they just told us what they want to consult with me about. We can say, got it. To confirm your request, I need your email ID. Over here, again, we're going to leave text input on, but we are going to put email verification on. So this is going to make sure that the person is sharing an email ID with us. Hit save, and now we can create another gambit to close out this conversation. So we add another gambit, connect it up, rename it end, and close out the conversation. Thank you. I have submitted your request. Expect an email from Arnav later today. And to end the conversation, from the user input type, we select auto page redirection. Hit save, and our entire conversational flow is complete. Now, before we actually move forward, what we are going to do is we are going to preview this conversation. So we're going to hit the Publish Chatbot button at the top right, open the chatbot up in a new tab. Over here, it says, hi, my name is TARS. I'm Arnav's personal chatbot assistant. How can I help you? Request a consultation. Great. And now we'll go through the entire lead generation flow. We just want to go through to make sure everything is looking all right. This is Arnav consulting with Arnav. I'm consulting myself. I need help implementing a chatbot with Zapier integration for my chatbot business. This is a little bit self-referential, but it works. Finally, we give them our email ID. So let me give it my work email. And with that, the conversation is done. An entire lead has been captured. The only change I'd probably make to this chatbot is jump into the design section and change the theme. So let's find something that looks good. I like these sorts of colors, or maybe something a little bit more. Yep, this is great. Hit save, publish. And over here, you can see the theme has changed. Now for the important stuff. We have a chatbot set up. We have the chatbot capturing the important lead information that we want. It captures the name, query, and email. We want that lead information to automatically be sent to our data management services. So for me, for example, I like to use Google Sheets a lot. I want a Google Sheet with all of the new leads that I capture. So the first thing we need to do for that is obviously set up the data management software on the other end. In this webinar, as I just mentioned, I am going to use Google Sheets. Just because Google Sheets, the table format of Google Sheets is sort of a good template for any piece of software. Most software that you're using, most CRMs that you're using store information as a table. So if you start thinking about all of your data in the form of a table, as I'm sure you guys are used to doing if you've used Excel or Google Sheets before, you will have a good sense of how to structure your chatbot conversation data for any of the other hundreds of apps that are there on Zapier. So I jumped into my Google Sheets over here. I created a new spreadsheet. I'm going to call this Consultation Leads. Maybe we can set up the headings as well. So over here, we're capturing name, query, and email. We can call this name, query, and email. And with that, we have both the start point of the data and the end point of the data set up. So we have the lead capture system set up over here. People can come in, share their lead information, and we have a Google Sheet set up to store that information. Now what we need to do is connect those two points together. So we need to connect this lead capture system to this Google Sheet. And to do that, that's where Zapier comes into the picture. So what you want to do is jump back into the builder, hit the check data section. This is where you can actually see all of the data that your bot is capturing. So if I hit view, you can see the conversation I just had. Analyze and export also give you some top level statistics and allow you to export the data as a CSV to play around with and get a sense of how your chatbot is performing. But the feature that we are particularly interested in this webinar is the Zapier integration. So hit the integrations button within the check data section, and that's going to drop you in to this section of the builder over here. There's only one button on the screen. You want to hit the green Get Started button, and that is going to open up Zapier for you. Now, within Zapier, what you want to do is, first of all, you need to have a Zapier account to use Zapier, obviously. So what you're going to do is log into your Zapier account. So I'm going to hit login over here. We are going to say continue with Google. Log in to Zapier with my work account, accept the privacy policy. Now over here, what we can do is we can look for TARS. We can look for Google Sheets. So basically what we are doing in Zapier is we are connecting the TARS app to the Google Sheet app over here. So what you can think of is if a conversation happens in TARS, then something is going to happen in Google Sheets. And the specific trigger that we are going to select is a new conversation. So every time a new conversation happens in TARS, we are going to create a spreadsheet row in Google Sheets. So we're going to hit use the Zap now. And that's going to drop us into the setup for this Zap. Now, what we want to do is select a TARS account. So over here, the TARS account what was the TARS account that I just created? It's patelwebinar@hellotars.com. So what we're going to do is add a TARS account. By default, it's going to pull the TARS account that you're signed into. So I'm already signed into patelwebinar@hellotars.com. It's going to ask me whether I want to authorize Zapier to access my data. I'm going to hit authorize, and that's going to give Zapier permission to look at my chatbots. Once we have that set up over there, we can hit the blue continue button. And over here, it's going to ask us to select which chatbot we want Zapier to pull the data from. So just to recap a little bit, essentially what we've done is we've created a chatbot. The chatbot captures leads. We're sending it to this Google Sheet, and we're doing that through Zapier. So what we've done is we've gone into Zapier. We've selected TARS as the start point of our data transfer. We've selected Google Sheets as the end point of our data transfer. So the data is going to be transferred from a new conversation in TARS to a new spreadsheet row in our Google Sheet. We've selected the trigger event, so every time a new conversation happens, and we've connected our TARS account so that Zapier can hook into our chatbot to pull all of that new lead information and send it to Google Sheets. So once we've selected that account, hit the blue continue button. It's going to ask us to select the chatbot that we want. We only have one chatbot in this account, Arnav's lead gen chatbot, which is the one we just created. We want to select that chatbot, hit the blue continue button, and now it is going to ask us to test the data that's coming in through this chatbot. Now, I highly recommend that you actually don't skip this test, because it gives you a sense of how the data is coming in from your chatbot. So let's hit the test and continue button over here. It is going to find data. Oh, sorry. Actually, I want to jump back over here. You can hit the test and review button, maybe actually, just so that you can see the conversation if you want to check out the conversation like I want to do over here to show you guys. And if I jump back over here to find data, you can see conversation A has been pulled in. Now, conversation A has the information that was captured from the one conversation that I had with the chatbot. So if I jump back over here and I go to the view data section, the conversation I had earlier with the chatbot is shown over here. And what Zapier has essentially done is it's pulled that information in. And you can see all of that information over here. It has the name, query, email, the end gambit, and the intro gambit. So over here, we can see all of the inputs that were selected in each of the gambits. And obviously, the key gambits that are important for us are name, query, and email. So at this point, we know that our bot is working as intended and is hooked up to Zapier as intended. So now every time our chatbot has a conversation with someone, it captures all of their user input and it can send it to Zapier over here. And all of that information is coming through properly. We have the name, we have the query, and we have the email. Now with that, we want to send this information to our Google Sheet. So once you hit done editing, it's going to, you want to click on the Google Sheets section of this Zapier setup. The first thing that you want to do is select which account you want to, which Google Sheets account you want to connect your Zap to, you want to connect your chatbot to. And the account I'm using over here is my regular work account. So I'm going to select that from the options over here. It's arnav@hellotars.com. If you want to add a new account, just like with the TARS integration at the top, you just hit add a new account and sign in to your Google account. Over here, I'm just going to select my Google account again, just because I can. Hit allow. It selects that account. Then we can hit the blue continue button. This is super intuitive. I feel like I'm just walking you through a very intuitive process, but I guess it's worthwhile. You can see how it's done. Once you select the account, you have to select which drive you want to pull the sheet from. So the way Google Drive organizes things is you have multiple drives. The only drive that I have set up on my account is my Google Drive, which is the default Google Drive. So all of you guys will have this, and this is probably where your Google Sheet will be. So select my Google Drive. Now we want to select the spreadsheet that we want to send the information to. So of all the sheets that I have in Google Sheets, we want to send our information to this new one that we created called Consultation Leads. So over here from spreadsheet, where it's going to pull all of the spreadsheets that we have in our Google account in the My Google Drive drive of our Google account. And we want to select the one that we want to send our data to. So over here, I can see Consultation Leads is an option, and that's the sheet we want to send it to. So I'm going to select Consultation Leads. And now it's going to ask us which worksheet within that spreadsheet we want to send the information to. Now, if you guys are wondering what a worksheet is, if you aren't too familiar with spreadsheet software, if you jump back into Google Sheets over here at the bottom, you can see that it says sheet 1. You can actually create multiple sheets like this. So we want to send all our information to sheet 1, where we've set up the headings over here. So over here from worksheet, I'm going to select sheet 1 and hit the, actually before we hit the blue continue button, you can see that a bunch of new fields pop up on the screen. Now these new fields, name, query, and email, correspond to the headings that we have within our Google Sheet. So what Zapier has essentially done is we've set up the TARS integration, we've connected our Google Sheet up, and we've told Zapier which spreadsheet and which worksheet within that spreadsheet we want to send the data of our TARS conversation to. Now, once we've told it those details, once we've told it which exact worksheet we want to send our information to, what Zapier has gone ahead and done is it's pulled all the headings from our sheet and is presenting it to us over here as blank fields. Now, what we have to do is that information that we saw in our conversation over here, so in conversation A, so this is like template information, test information that we have over here. We need to send this information over into these blank fields at, we need to send it over into these blank fields that Zapier has created for us. So over here on the right side of these fields, you can see this little button over here. What you want to do is hit that button, and in the dropdown that pops up, you can see that it says new conversation and all of the details that were captured from our conversation that we saw in the test data over there. So that conversation which Zapier pulled from our bot, the conversation that we initially had, where I said, I need help implementing a chatbot with Zapier integration for my chatbot business. All of that information is available through these dropdowns. And essentially what we need to do is we need to match up these fields using those dropdown menus to the information that was captured in our chatbot. So click on that button over here. For the name field, we want to send the name information that is captured. So over here, we can see name Arnav. So select name. In the query option, we want to go through and select the query information that was captured. So over here, it says query, and we have the test information from the conversation we had. So we're going to select that. And finally, in the email field, we want to select the email option and hit continue. Once we've done that, we fill out all the fields, and then we can hit the continue button. Now, once that's done, it is going to ask us whether we want to test again. And this time you can just hit test and continue if you are confident about your setup. But over here, I want to show you guys, how this works. So what we're going to do is we are going to hit test and review. So once you hit test and review, it says a spreadsheet row was sent to your Google Sheet just now. And if we jump back into our Google Sheet, you can see that that information that we collected through our chatbot, this test conversation that we had, that we fed into Zapier up here, has been automatically sent over to our Google Sheet. As you saw from my screen, I didn't do anything to copy this information over here. All I hit was test and review, and it sent that sample information over here that we hooked up into Zapier into the Google Sheet in the way that we told it to in the setup for Zapier over here. And with that, what we've essentially done is we have set up our entire Zap. So over here, we can hit retest and continue. It's going to send another row with that exact same information. As you can see, it's added these 2 rows. I'm going to delete the second one just because it's a duplicate. Jump back into Zapier and hit turn Zap on. It's super important that you do this. I've definitely found myself in the situation where I've created an entire integration and then I've forgotten to hit the turn Zap on button. And then I get super confused about why my data isn't automatically going from my chatbot to my data management software. So hit the turn Zap on button. It should say your Zap is on, and then you can actually go ahead and give your chatbot a try. So let's take this chatbot over here. We can have another conversation with it. So let's hit request consultation. Great. I need a few details to get you set up. What's your name? We can say something like John Smith, just a generic name. What is your, what would you like to talk to Arnav about? I need help setting up a chatbot for my digital marketing agency. Got it. To confirm, I need your email ID. So john@johnmarketing.com, a creative name for his marketing agency. With that, the conversation is done. So the way we've set up this chatbot is that once the conversation is done on the back end, this bot sends all of this conversation information to Zapier, and we set that up over here. So it sends it to Zapier. That data is found by Zapier. It pops up as another conversation over here. Zapier takes that information and through the setup that we have over here, it sends it to this particular sheet, sending the name information that we captured over here to the name column in our sheet, sending the email and query information that we captured in our bot to the email and query columns of our sheet. And as you can see over here, that information that we just captured through our bot is already here. So we've completely automated the process of sending the information from our chatbot to our data management software, in this case, Google Sheets. And that entire process is now something we don't need to worry about. Now, it can get really cool when you use specific CRMs, which have cool functionality within them. So in some CRMs, you can have it set up so that when a new lead comes in, you automatically send out an email. And obviously, we can't go into that in this webinar in particular, or in this demo session in particular, just because all of you guys probably use different CRMs. But essentially, what you can do with this is super powerful. Like I was mentioning before, once you have a conversation with this, chatbot, you can, Jack Sparrow, the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean. Once you have a conversation with this chatbot as a prospect, you automatically get a follow-up email sent to you. Now with that, we're actually done with the entire build section of this webinar. Piracy company. So what we can actually do is we can jump into the Q&A section of the webinar. Usually once we are done with the live build, once we've showed you what we want to show you, we accept questions from you guys. So if you guys who are on the webinar right now have any questions for me, you can feel free to ask them right now, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you don't, you can jump off the webinar, and that'll be it for the session. I am just going to add another lead over here just because it works like magic and I can't help myself. There we go. We see the lead pop up. Anyways, yeah, we're done with the webinar for now. We're done with the session. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. And I hope you guys learned how you can set up your chatbots so that it automatically connects to Zapier. If you have any questions for us, what you can do is contact us through one of these channels. You can call us directly on this number over here. You can email me at arnav@hellotars.com, or you can go to our website. Like I showed you at the beginning, sign up for our builder. And actually, really quick, let me show you what it looks like within the builder. In the builder, we have an intercom widget where you can reach out to our customer support representatives who will walk you through any questions that you have. So that's pretty much it for today's session. I'm going to wait here for a couple of more minutes if you guys have questions and respond to them. So we have a question here from Levi. What are some popular integrations that we should consider automating with Zapier? I think the most popular one that, or like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of people like to integrate Zapier with their CRMs. So the idea is that you have an entire workflow set up. So for example, think about a small loan origination business. A bunch of people on the TARS platform run their own mortgage businesses. And a lot of mortgage CRMs have some really cool features set up within them, like most CRMs do, where you can automate entire processes. So a lead comes into your CRM, it automatically pulls information about them from the data sources that are available out there, automatically sends out a bunch of, puts them into a bunch of email campaigns and sends them out. Now, using Zapier, what you can do is you can hook up your lead capture system with your CRM so that you have this entire complex workflow set up within your CRM to automatically categorize and send emails to your new leads. And you have Zapier essentially take all of your leads that are captured within your chatbot and automatically send it into that workflow. Theoretically, if you have a CRM that has functionality like that, and a lot of CRMs today do have functionality like that, all the popular ones at least do. We use HubSpot, for example, and we find that to be super useful. We find its functionality to be super useful, but essentially, like if you have that functionality in your CRM, theoretically, what you can do is automate the entire conversion process of converting a lead into a paying customer. They land on your chatbot, they have an automated conversation, that data automatically gets sent over into your CRM. They get automatically put into certain email lists where a bunch of follow-up emails are sent out. And if they convert from one of those follow-up emails, you've had no actual interaction with them, with that prospect, but they've converted into a paying customer and they've felt like you've given them a personalized experience because they're having a conversation with you at the beginning. They're having a conversation with you through those automated emails. I hope that answers your question. I see that we don't have any more questions for now, but that's all right. I'm glad that you guys found this session useful. We're getting some messages from people who attended saying that they found the session useful, and that's always heartening to hear for us. Again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us through any of these channels. We'll be more than happy to help you. And of course, sign up for our builder and reach out to us through our intercom widget if you have any questions about your specific chatbot. That's it for today. Thank you guys for joining us.